Security of lives and property are the main function of government. No meaningful development or progress can be achieved in any society that's lacking peace and stability. This is the reason why government must place a premium and show total commitment to safeguarding lives and properties of its citizens. Nigeria has had its shares of conflicts, with the climax being the Civil War from 1967 to 1970. But 5 decades since the war ended, many will argue that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has experienced the most trying times. This point of view is anchored on the argument that the administration experienced the peak of the Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast, banditry in the northwest and north-central, clashes between herders and farmers in north-central, and the secessionist activities in the southeast. The consequences are the thousands of killings of innocent citizens and members of the armed forces, thousands of people kidnapped, abducted and also displaced from ancestral homes, billions of funds in naira and hard currencies paid as ransoms, and not to forget the loss of livelihoods. Despite these challenges, the administration of President Buhari is counting its gains in the fight against insecurity. It scores itself high on delivering the promise to combat insecurity bedeviling the country. The Buhari team says since 2015, the narrative has changed positively as a result of the visionary leadership of the president, who is a former military general. According to them, since the inception of the administration, there have been steady progress in building the capacities and capabilities of the armed forces, with resultant impact on all the operations across the country. The administration says it has been able to end devastating attacks like the bombing of the UN building in August 2011, several streets and market bombings, and the kidnap of 276 Chibok girls in 2014. The 4 platforms on which the government bases its achievements are groundbreaking policies, unprecedented acquisition of platforms, recruitment and capacity development of personnel. In a scorecard of President Muhammadu Buhari presented by the Ministry of Defense in February 2023, it lists the following as its achievements: degradation of insurgency, improved internal security, projection of air power, reformation and restructuring of the armed forces, acquisition of more than 38 aircraft and reactivation of many others, increased recruitment into the armed forces, establishment of training institutions, acquisition of more than 2,000 units of various armed fighting vehicles and equipment, improving combat readiness of troops, recapturing lost territories and cities from insurgents, procurement of over 415 platforms of various types and mix for the Nigerian Navy, fleet recapitalization of the Navy, detection and arrest of illegal vessels, ending pirate attacks on Nigerian waters and the Gulf of Guinea, protection of offshore assets, and launching of Delsat-1. It also lists the following policies as initiated and implemented: revised Nigerian National Defense Policy 2017, reform of the Ministry of Defense, establishment of Military Industrial Complex in 2015, the establishment of the Defense Industry Association of Nigeria, National Maritime Strategy and Implementation Plan, establishment of the National Hydrographic Agency Act 2021, and Gender Policy for Armed Forces of Nigeria 2022. The administration also speaks highly of its interventions on the Nigeria Police Force. It says this was done by increasing the number of police personnel by over 20,000, procurement of operational vehicles, equipment and weapons, and accoutrement for the police force, and instituting several police reform policies. Despite these successes, reforms and policies, critics say much more could have been done and achieved within the administration's tenure and the funds expended for the purposes. They refer to the inability of the government to rescue more than 90 of the kidnapped Chibok schoolgirls and hundreds of others still in captivity. This was a criticism against the previous administration and a subject of campaign during the 2015 elections. Huge ransoms paid by federal, state governments, and even private individuals to rescue kidnapped victims. Several attacks on correctional facilities with hundreds of inmates still on the loose. Increasing accounts of killings in the southeast. Frequent attacks in the north-central and northwest linked to farmer-herder clashes. It is for this purpose that critics are calling on the incoming administration of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu to do better. They say the incoming APC administration must carry the burden of strengthening whatever gains made by the previous government and accept the failures with a bid to quickly end all forms of insecurity so as to give way for economic development. This is also in tandem with the promises of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In an 80-page document containing multi-sectoral policy options tagged Renewed Hope 2023 and unveiled as part of its manifesto, the former Lagos State Governor says he will prioritize national security. He affirms that security is the bedrock of a prosperous and democratic society, while promising to make it a fundamental responsibility to protect the lives and property of its citizens. He says this will be achieved by mobilizing the country's national security, military and law enforcement assets to protect all Nigerians from danger and from the fear of danger. To achieve this, Tinubu promises in his action plan to further equip the armed forces with more modern hardware and needed technological support. He also says police will be reformed to fully take responsibility for internal security. The plan intends to free police personnel from extraneous duties, such as VIP security and guard duties. It also commits to transferring fully VIP security and provision of security for government buildings, installations, and other critical assets to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. This comes with a promise to evaluate the NSCDC and reform it to be better integrated with other internal security apparatus. Other plans by the incoming administration are to bolster Nigeria's security forces by recruitment and training. While these promises are laudable, analysts say the devil is in the details and its implementation. Some of its criticisms are that there is a need for a new national security policy that will detail the new reforms and its modalities. They have also pointed to biased or loop-sided appointments of security chiefs who oversee the armed forces and security agencies. The argument is that more importance is attached to selecting people on quota system or individual bias and not competence. Many have also raised the question of will and motivations to make the right decisions. They argue that although President Muhammadu Buhari was a former general in the Nigerian military, he could not end the war against insurgency. In all, some of the nation's biggest challenges, including food security, increasing numbers of out-of-school children, gender-based violence, unemployment, and lack of purchasing power, can be solved by ending insecurity. The outgoing administration is also bowing out with members of the armed forces involved in theater operations across all geopolitical zones of the country, showing the widespread impact of insecurity in the country. It is therefore imperative that the new government hits the ground running immediately, builds on existing achievements, and wins the war against insecurity. Ferdinand Duroja, Arise News.